Speaking of the Leafs, let's just go down the QEW. We're going to head towards Buffalo, where we want to talk about gambles. Tage Thompson, the Sabres took a big fat gamble on his success last year.
Do you know what happened the last time the Buffalo Sabres took a gamble on a guy that scored 40 in 1 year? Remember what happened there?
Yeah, his name is Jeff Skinner. He plays in the fourth line.
And
last year was fine, but
he was better.
Yeah.
He's got scratched half of the year, but, I mean, thoughts on Tage Thompson?
I mean, I said it. That's a big gamble. 38 goals, 68 points. His massive breakout year last year. I think he had his combined, his career high was 14 points before that.
Yeah, so not to cut you off, but I have the stats here. For St. Louis, he had 41 games played. He had 3 goals and 6 assists. Then Buffalo, he had 65 games played, 7 goals and 5 assists. 2019-2020, only played a game. He was hurt. And then the year before last year, he had 38 games where he put up 14 points.
Yeah, so the question is, was he a young player in like a pretty tough Buffalo environment who couldn't get going and got hurt? Or is he, and now once Buffalo sort of had some positivity and a good culture, has now thrived? Or is he a guy who got really lucky last year and is going to be riding this season for the rest of his career? Like, I don't know. Clearly the Sabres think he's very good. What do you think?
I hate to say it. I think it's the latter. And I never want to bet against a player, but one of the telltale signs of a player who just had a great year is when his play driving stats aren't great. His shooting percentage is way above average, and his finishing just goes off the charts. And that's exactly what you see with Tage Thompson. Yeah. First and foremost, I mean, two-way is not the word I would use to describe him. He's the sub-10th percentile of defensive metrics for a center.
I wouldn't describe any Buffalo Sabres as a two-way stalwart. But
last season he was very bad, and it seemed like this year, after 15 games played, his finishing just took 15 steps. It took 15 steps. And I mean, granted, you could say this could have been a breakout year for him because he was young. I don't know the answer to that question, but this year's shooting percentage was 16% compared to a career average of 10%. His finishing was in the sub-50th percentiles for most of his career. And now last year, and I think the latter 75% of the season, it got moved to the 95th percentile in the entire NHL. Like I said, offensively gifted, defensively not great. Play driving isn't great as well. I hate to say it, but if there is a guy who you think could have gotten lucky, it is a guy with stats like this. And to give him 7/8, it's one thing to give him 7/4, because if he regresses to the mean next year, you get 3 bad years. The problem is it's 7/8 on a team that has been, like I said, in a perpetual rebuild and has been riddled with terrible contracts. I just don't think they can go all in on him. And I mean, they clearly did. They did.
They did. They're taking. They believe in him. I think also they needed to signal we're serious. We're gonna pay guys, and because we believe that we're building something special here, which I do think they're building something pretty promising there. I mean, he's also 6'7". NHL GMs love a guy who's big and can shoot, which he can. I just wonder. Yeah, he was, like you mentioned, his finishing. I think he was 4th in goals scored above expected.
Yeah.
So is that just he's a lethal finisher? He was up there with Chris Kreider, Austin Matthews, and Ovi.
Mm-hmm.
Or did he get lucky? I don't know, because it was 1 year.
It's not let's say that he didn't get lucky and his finishing stats are that fantastic. At the end of the day, he is still a human being, and human beings go through tribulations in their career. And the difference between him and a player with great finishing and also great play driving is that when a player like Austin Matthews can't score for 6 games, he affects players around him in a positive way because his play driving is off the charts. These stats show me that when Tage Thompson does not remember how to put the puck in the net for 5-6 games, he is a liability and he contributes nothing to his team. Nothing's a harsh word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And to give a guy 7/8 to only either finish or be a liability, I don't know.
Yeah, they're banking on him being a regular 35 to 40 goal scorer. It's very similar to Patrick Laine, just he's a centerman in that regard. Patrick Laine has built his career off of like being a really talented goal scorer when he's on. When he's off, he's awful. And it's kind of similar here.
Actually a great comparison. Like, this guy's either going to score or he's going to be invisible, similar to a William Nylander as well. And we know how Patrick Laine and William Nylander get chewed up in the media. And it's true. Like, when those guys aren't putting the puck in the net, they're invisible and they're a waste of money. That's a bad thing to say. I don't know the word for it, but
they're not $7 million players every night, but some nights they're $10 million players.
100%. And to have to go through those ups and downs for 8 years, I don't know. And another question is I guess this means Buffalo finally wants to emerge from this rebuild, and they no longer do. This is the time.
I mean,
is Tage Thompson the guy you want to center a rebuild around?
This is the thing. $7 million. That's kind of the going rate. I feel like, especially in 2 years, that's going to be the going rate for a second liner. So if they can find somehow somebody to be a first liner for them, whether that's via trade or maybe they have someone like, I don't think they have anybody in their system that can become that. But if he plays at a second line level at $7 million, that's not terrible. But if you're expecting to be a first line center and he can't score and he maybe like struggles with the matchups, then it'll be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say. I guess starting with Owen Power, Rasmus Dahlin, and Tage Thompson emerging from a rebuild with Alex Tuch is okay.
It's a decent core. They don't have a goalie. But.
Right? It's not an A-plus core. I mean, you're right. If they can somehow find a way to attract free agents, they're going to have to overpay on them because Buffalo isn't exactly the best place to play.
No, I wouldn't describe it.
But are there any NHL UFAs that are from Buffalo? I don't want to keep using the word Patrick Kane. It's the only one
Literally
I can think
Patrick
of.
Kane.
But I really know Patrick Kane's going to want to go to Buffalo to finish his career off.
If they were like further along on their rebuild, I could see him doing that. It's just they're not going to be winning in the next, I don't know, like year, anywhere from 2 to 3 years. I don't see them winning, and that's Patrick Kane's like last chance. So unfortunately, unless he really wants to go home and like be a part of their rebuild, I don't see him going there. But that's like the guy in an ideal world. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content, and find the link to our full podcast and all our socials in the description down below.
Also, don't forget to turn on those notifications to get live updates on new videos that we release.